Hey, Kurt, great to have you on Beer with the CFO. Thank you for joining us. Great to see you again.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure, and it's great to see you as well.
Yes, Kurt is the founder of Kurt Ostermiller Coaching, and I receive your incredible newsletter in my inbox, CFO Coaching Insights. Everyone who's listening to this, go to Kurt Ostermiller's LinkedIn page and make sure you grab that newsletter, and it's full of great thought leadership and insight. So Kurt, you focus solely on coaching corporate financial executives, and you help them, I'm going to get this right, sail from Hell Island to Heaven Island and achieve their full potential. That's quite a ride.
That
I
is
think
true.
we've all been on that ride once or twice. Yeah.
Yeah, and really, Bridget, it's using my experience and knowing what goes on as you sit in that chair, that CFO chair, everything you have to deal with up, down, across, recessions, economy, money, cash flow, that really catapulted me to that in what I consider a career rejuvenation.
You certainly have rejuvenated, and rejuvenating you and I are going to be doing here. I've got Robo Boogie, which is a New Zealand double India Pale Ale from out here in Colorado. It's kind of got a fun little label there. And you have a Hap Slappy. What is that all about? Out of Cedar Park.
This is a Cedar Park, Texas. It's a small microbrewery, Red Horn Brewery. There's 2 locations here in Cedar Park, Texas, which is just north of Austin. It's a 7%er, and it's one of their best IPAs, and it's my fave.
I can't wonderful. Can't complain about that. I love Cedar Park, love Central Texas, and I looked up the brewery online also. It's a coffee shop, so you can get a non-alcoholic brew there as well if you want to just enjoy coffee. So y'all go check that out. And so you focused on financially distressed firms a lot of your 20-year career as an experienced CFO. You focused on financially distressed firms. So let's talk a little bit about how to survive a recession and thrive afterwards. And I want to hear a little bit about that L.I.K.E acronym that you're going to tell us about.
Yeah, well, first of all, Bridget, I think for CFOs, as many economists say, some say we're not currently in a recession or we're heading towards a recession, but it's very important to recognize that it's a normal process of the business cycle. The key is with either a financially distressed company, a SaaS startup, a fast startup, is typically they're not profitable in the early stages, and which means they're burning cash within the operation. So the funding comes from outside the business. And so as we enter into recession, funding tightens up. How do these firms stay alive? How do they focus on that? So, from my standpoint in coaching my clients, specifically CFOs, is really taking a look and saying, what's the contrarian? What's my mindset in all this? If it is a contrarian viewpoint, 2022 is the second highest funding in history. So, are we going to look at that and operate the firm, or are we going to put our head in the sand and really get down on that? So just remembering that many fortunes have been made in recessions. And so that's, as I get into my L.I.K.E acronym, that's a mindset that I really coach and tell people that's how we have to look at recessions or entering into recession.
That's a silver lining. What is tell us about the acronym.
The acronym is L.I.K.E, L-I.K.E. And I'm a big fan of acronyms because it puts it forefront. And so it's leadership, internal, king, and external. And I can go into all 4 of those if you'd like.
Please do.
Okay. L is leadership. So when you look at the C-level leadership and the upper management, I firmly believe if you're entering in a recession, people look towards the leadership for leadership. John Maxwell once said, everything rises and falls on leadership. And so with that, it's that positive emotional mindset that we're going to do this no matter what. And that has to cascade through the organization. As leaders, we remove denial. We face the fact of what's going on. We're going to attack it. All our energy is moving forward. It's not saying we should have done this, should have done that. You end up should have all overing yourself. So it's really acting decisively with imperfect information. And we've often been told and we've heard that there's two human emotions, and it's fight and flight. When we enter into tough times. Well, there's a third actually, and it's the worst one, and that is inaction. Leaders can be paralyzed by not knowing what to do, what type of decisions, making decisions with imperfect or not 100% information. And so it's really acting on that imperfect information with our best knowledge, our best experience, and remembering that a decision is only the start of it. It's also managing that decision throughout the process and adjusting as needed. So that's the leader. That's the L portion of it.
And what is the I?
The I is internal, and what that means is when in the C-level leadership position, that internal over communication is key. And so you're really looking at the leadership of this firm to say, what is going on? We're transparent. We're 100% honest. And being 100% honest doesn't mean we give full information. So if we miss projections by 18%, we don't have to go through and detail that out. We can just say we had tough times, we're working on it. From the CFO position, from that CFO chair, the relationship with the CEO is absolutely critical. And that's the number 2 problem that I work with on my clients, is that relationship, because they have to be aligned. They have to have a common theme and a solidified message moving forward. So, looking internally at that relationship, I advise and I just strongly encourage CFOs to strengthen that relationship with that leader, so that when you're in front of the board, when you're in front of the team, when you're making your strategy, you are quote unquote as one. Other aspects of that is really look and lead your employees, and part of that disclosure is telling your employees exactly where you're at and where you're going. And I often compare it to you're raising kids. Whatever you don't teach them, they're going to learn and hear on the school bus, and that may or may not be the best place to learn. So get in front of your employees, more often than not, communicate that, let them know exactly what's going on again. Another key for a CFO is the board, and ask that the board adopt a all hands on deck mentality. And what that means is, boards have certain expectations, certain responsibilities, and typically it's noses in and fingers out. So the board is managing strategy, the C-level people. But at this time, the board needs to be accessible. And I encourage my clients to get a board portal, which is a vehicle where the communications can happen instantaneously. Because in a fast-moving recessions, decisions have to be made very quickly. And so we have to be together as a team so that we don't get run over by that proverbial bus.
So leadership internal, and you said K is king?
K is king, and it's kind of the old cliche, cash is king. Yes. So the CEO or CFO, in conjunction, led by the CFO, your number 1 goal is to ensure the survival of the firm. And I've always said cash is like a roll of toilet paper. As you're running out, the faster it goes. So it's you must have the temperature on your cash flow, and you do that obviously by something that most CFOs are very good at. That's cash flow analysis and building scenarios of what is happening. The forecasting, that's a rolling forecast. Identify ways to extend the runway, as they say, and reduce the burn rate. And I've always coached and always believed that cost reductions, they should be strategic without sustaining or making irreparable damage to the business. And number 2 is don't kill employee morale. So I still often see, as we enter in a recession, cash flow gets tight. We cancel the Christmas party. We cancel lunches. What on the overall temperature of the firm, is that a big enough change? And what does that do to morale? Is it counterproductive from that standpoint? Also encourage that harness technology. And again, it's the speed of information flow that real-time data is key. So if we're pulling our forecast off onto Excel and we need to change that, and it's, once you publish Excel, obviously it's outdated. And so really use that technology to say, here is our real-time information, here's our real-time inputs, here's our real-time outputs, and use that to make your strategic action plans moving forward as fast as possible.
And you have a little bit of experience with Kinsero, with your relationship with Kinsero, so you can identify with the simple technology that we have with Kinsero and how that harnessing that type of technology, having all of your financial data and information in one place, it's easily accessible, it's easy to understand and digest. It makes our finance leaders, very efficient and strategic. What is to close it up, what is the E? We've got leadership, internal, king, and
external. And the external is really two basic points. It's looking outward at your customer base and looking outward at your supply chain. So in a recession, entering in a recession, it's a perfect time for the CEO, the head of sales, your chief revenue officer to get out and see your customers. And here we're on Zoom. It's so easy to do that. You can meet with 3 customers worldwide, in a span of 2 hours. It's no longer required that you spend thousands of dollars in 3 days to travel to Boulder, Colorado. So really encourage, and even if the CFO is engaged in that, but get in front of your customers, talk to them, have an honest conversation about what their cash flow is, what this looks like, what their markets look like going forward. And then especially, even probably more important is the supply chain. What are the risks? Are you looking at your supplier health? What do they see? The first thing everybody does in a recession, obviously, is buckle down. And your firm's in the middle of this, and you really have to manage both sides of that. And so I really look at those two as kind of the pogo sticks that keep your bike on the right path moving forward.
Well, I'm taking notes this time on this Beer with the CFO, because this is really great content, Kurt. The leadership, internal, king, cash is king, and external. I love that acronym. In fact, I think we should write a blog and post it on our website, because this is really great information. And everyone can find you on LinkedIn. That's Kurt Ostermiller, and connect with him. Get his newsletter. And I hope that you have a slap happy kind of day. And it's not quite time for me to open this yet, but Robo Boogie is what I'm going to be doing tonight. Thank you so much, Kurt, for joining us on Beer with the CFO. We'll see everyone next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks, Kurt.